You said she's bigger than you? Is that correct?
Absolutely.
How do you know that?
I mean, look.
I'm looking. I don't agree with that. So she's overweight, right? In your opinion.
Objection, no.
She's a little...
You don't need to answer me.
Okay.
Oh, whew, Jesus Christ. What I wanted to tell y'all is that we really underestimated the box sets. So the box sets are completely sold out, especially because you fat f***s. Clearly you guys are fat as f***. No Chick-fil-A for y'all. All the 3X sold out. Y'all, the 3X sold out like in 20 minutes. If I got y'all so upset, here's a cupcake.
Cardi B said, I know my fans fat as fuck. I can't even make fun of fat people no more. Y'all, I spoke to Cardi B. She's sorry. Big Back, she didn't fucking mean it. On behalf of the Big Back community, I spoke to her. She said, leave her the fuck alone. She didn't mean to make the fucking joke. For real, y'all. Shut the fuck up. What be happening is, let me explain to y'all sometimes. Cardi B probably was surprised that she had a real life plus size following. You know what I'm saying? Like, you could see how she was fucking amazed that the 3X is sold out. Actually, she was amazed all her shit sold out. But she was just like, damn, the 3X is sold out. No Chick-fil-A for you.
Come on now, what in the world is going on? Cardi B really hopped on live stream and straight up called her own fans fat, and then had the nerve to double down on it. That's the kind of shockwave that doesn't just stay in one corner of the internet. It's blasting across the entire entertainment world tonight. What could have been brushed off as Cardi just playing around took a sharp turn when she wouldn't let it go. Instead of laughing it off or moving on, she escalated the whole thing, saying she had every right to clap back with body shaming because people criticize her BBL. In her own words, she argued, "Don't call me fat phobic, cause everybody make fun of my BBL. If y'all body shame me, I could body shame y'all."
Bunch of people crying, talking about I'm fat phobic and stuff because, I don't know, on Twitter, it was like a joke between me and my fans on like, damn, you fat motherfuckers, why y'all bought all the 3X that fast? It was an innocent joke between me and my fans. But anyways, it's not that serious. And especially when it comes to me, I make fun of everybody. I don't give a fuck if you're fat, skinny, BBL down, got big feet, got small feet, whatever. As long as you don't stink. You know what I'm saying? I don't give a damn. You know what I'm saying? It's never that serious. Like, don't cry about it. Listen, people make fun of my BBL all the time. If we're gonna be using these phobic words and everything, then I'm gonna do a BBL phobic word, because I get fun of more of having a BBL than you probably may get fun of being big.
But here's the problem. Critics are pointing out that throwing insults back at the same people who literally buy your music, your concert tickets, and even those pricey merch drops is risky business. Fans started venting online, saying stuff like, imagine spending $50 on a Cardi B box set just to be called fat by the woman you adore. Ouch! That's not just shade, that's betrayal. Industry blogs wasted no time jumping in. Outlets like That Grape Juice and the Jasmine brand dragged up receipts, pointing out that this isn't even the first time Cardi's been hit with fat phobia claims. They resurfaced her old Instagram comments where she mocked big girls eating late at night and even implied that weight struggles were just laziness. People are now saying this pattern is not just an off-the-cuff joke, it's part of a bigger issue that could seriously damage her relationship with fans. This whole mess just kept snowballing. What people first thought might have been a careless one-liner started to look like part of a much bigger, uglier pattern. And instead of calming it down with a simple sorry, Cardi lit the flames even higher, using pure sarcasm. She snapped on live stream saying, "Oh my gosh, so I have to apologize though because y'all sensitive. Y'all wanna cry about something? Here's a cupcake for all y'all crying. Can you believe that?" That mocking tone turned the situation into a full-blown PR disaster. Gossip pages immediately crowned her with a brand new nickname, Fat Phobic Barty. And fans were left asking if their idol was finally biting the same hand that feeds her. It's like the tables flipped overnight. Cardi's once loyal supporters suddenly felt like the punchline in her jokes. The internet exploded, dividing into two fierce camps. On one side, you had the die-hard Barty gang who shrugged it off like, this is just Cardi being Cardi. They argued her unfiltered mouth and wild humor is exactly what made her a star in the first place, and anyone following her should already know to expect it. They defended her as raw, chaotic, and unapologetically real, claiming critics were just being overly sensitive and that cancel culture was twisting a harmless joke into something ugly. But then there was the other side, people who felt completely betrayed. Detractors fired back saying this wasn't Cardi clapping at trolls or dissing her rivals. This was her turning that venom on her very own fan base. To them, it crossed a major line. They pointed out how disrespectful it is to throw shade at the same people who keep her music on the charts and her shows sold out. For those fans, this wasn't just classic Cardi. This was cruel. It wasn't just any random clapback. This was Cardi openly ridiculing the very people who keep her career alive. The ones buying the merch, packing out arenas, and running up her streams so she could flex those Billboard wins. Blogs like Pop Crave and Lipstick Alley exploded with heated debates, calling it a textbook case of biting the hand that feeds you, and fans weren't holding back either. On TikTok, the backlash took on a whole new life. Creators started stitching her clip with plus-size influencers, breaking down why fat phobia isn't just joking energy when it's aimed at people who already face constant discrimination. One viral post flat out declared, Cardi doesn't realize she's normalizing bullying fat fans under the disguise of banter. That post alone had hundreds of thousands of likes, and it pushed the controversy even further into mainstream convo. The fallout grew so wild that even casual listeners, folks who aren't even deep into Barty Gang, were questioning if Cardi was low-key sabotaging her own brand. And instead of pumping the brakes, she doubled down again. On TikTok, she tried to defend herself saying, I make fun of everybody. Myself, my mama, my kids, my man. Nobody's off limits. But critics weren't buying it. They pointed out the obvious. Roasting yourself or your family doesn't hit the same as humiliating a whole chunk of your fan base in front of millions. That's not equal opportunity joking, that's punching down on the very crowd that makes you money. And still, Cardi refused to back down. She hit Instagram Live and TikTok again, expanding her defense by claiming she's been body shamed for years. She insisted she had every right to clap back the same way, but the damage was already spreading faster than she could control, and the internet wasn't letting it go. Cardi kept pushing her point, saying that because people clown her over her BBL surgeries and curves, she's got the green light to clap back at anyone, even her own supporters. She even hit fans with that mocking line, oh, just don't cry, okay? If you body shame me, I can body shame you. To her, it was a fair trade. But to many, it sounded like a dangerous excuse for dragging the same people who put her on top. Media outlets like The Shade Room and Hot New Hip Hop quickly jumped in, breaking down how Cardi's tit-for-tat logic was basically weaponizing her massive platform against loyal fans who never signed up to be humiliated over their body type, and critics weren't letting it slide. Commentators highlighted the key difference. Yes, Cardi has been mocked for her surgeries, but most of those jabs came from haters, trolls, and gossip tabloids. Not from the diehard supporters buying her merch, streaming her songs on repeat, and paying hundreds for tickets just to see her live. One viral Twitter thread put it perfectly. The fans who support her are not the same as the trolls dragging her BBL. By lumping them together, she's punishing her biggest supporters like they're the enemy. Even gossip sites that usually eat up Cardi's drama, like Celeb Buzz, flagged this as unusual. They pointed out that artists almost never risk openly antagonizing their own fan base, because once you start losing their trust, it's nearly impossible to win it back. Analysts even warned that while Cardi normally thrives off chaos and controversy, this time she might have gone too far, because this wasn't about beefing with rivals or sparring with tabloids. This was her clashing head-on with her core audience. Even with the criticism piling up, Cardi doubled down in the most dramatic way. She pulled out a cupcake on TikTok, holding it up like some kind of sarcastic peace offering, and sneered, "If you're upset, here's a cupcake. I'm not apologizing." That little stunt instantly went viral on meme pages, but for her critics, it wasn't funny at all. It sealed the image of Cardi mocking her fans instead of just playing around. Rather than cooling things down, she looked like she was enjoying the chaos, almost leaning into the backlash like it was part of the show. But behind the scenes, both fans and industry insiders started to whisper, was she finally pushing it too far? Because this didn't just feel like a slip up, it felt like a breaking point. And then the digging started. Fans highlighted that this wasn't even the first time Cardi had crossed the line with weight jokes. People who'd been following her for years remembered those little slips, those offhand remarks that hinted at fat-shaming energy. Before, most brushed them off as classic Cardi humor, but now her history was coming back to haunt her. Clips began resurfacing, like her comments about 3XL shirts and jokes tied to Chick-fil-A orders. Old interviews and live stream snippets were suddenly everywhere, showing moments where she made slick digs at body size. Gossip hubs like Lipstick Alley and massive Twitter threads started compiling the receipts one by one, turning this latest scandal into a timeline of her fat phobia. For many, it wasn't just about this one live stream anymore. It was about a pattern that fans could no longer ignore. This scandal wasn't being painted as some throwaway joke anymore. It was being framed as part of a bigger, troubling pattern. Critics argued that Cardi has a reckless streak where her raw honesty crosses into straight-up cruelty. Before, when her digs were vague or offhand, fans could brush them off as typical Cardi humor. But this time, the comments were too blunt, too loud, and impossible to ignore. One TikTok creator hit the nail on the head, saying, "It's not about Cardi being funny, it's about her punching down on the very people who keep her career alive." That line went viral, and it perfectly captured why the backlash was snowballing. Then came the fat acceptance advocates, and they weren't holding back. They reminded everyone that fat phobia is not just a joke, it's tied to real-life bullying, discrimination, and harsh health stigma. To them, Cardi's live stream wasn't harmless, it was dangerous. They even called on her to take accountability, stressing that with nearly 170 million followers on Instagram alone, her words don't just vanish into thin air, they echo far and wide, shaping how people think and act. But Cardi still brushed it all off, standing firm on Instagram Live and saying, "It's not that serious. I make fun of everybody. Don't cry about it." That dismissive tone didn't cool things down. It lit critics up even more. Many argued her refusal to take the issue seriously just proves she's out of touch with the very fan struggles she claims to represent. What started as a clapback now looked like an ugly blind spot in her brand. What made everything spiral even further was Cardi's response. She tried to flip the whole controversy on its head by painting her fans as too sensitive. Instead of acknowledging the hurt or even softening her tone, she doubled down again, insisting she wasn't fat phobic because, in her own words, "Everybody makes fun of my BBL." She argued that since she's constantly ridiculed over her surgeries and figure, she's earned the right to clap back at whoever she wants, even her own supporters. But critics weren't buying that explanation one bit. As BuzzFeed News pointed out, there's a massive difference between trolls attacking her and Cardi turning around to mock the very fans who actually support her career. One side is about dealing with haters, the other is about disrespecting the same people who just spent their money on her merch and tickets. Social media quickly flooded with reactions, and some of them cut deep. One viral tweet read, "Imagine dropping $60 on a Cardi B box set only to be called fat by the person you stan." That post racked up thousands of retweets and became a rallying cry for upset fans. Others dragged Cardi for hypocrisy, pointing out how she demands empathy for her own struggles with body shaming, but refuses to extend even an ounce of that compassion back to her supporters. And then there was that infamous cupcake stunt. What Cardi meant as a mocking peace offering turned into a meme factory overnight. But instead of diffusing the tension, it painted her as someone laughing at the very people who were hurt by her words. PR experts speaking to Page 6 even chimed in, saying that a simple acknowledgement, something like thanking her plus-size fans for standing by her, could have flipped the script into a powerful branding win. Instead, Cardi's stubbornness only deepened the mess, leaving her image hanging by a thread. Instead of pulling back, Cardi went full steam ahead with her defiance, and that only reinforced the fat phobia accusations, pushing the scandal into full-blown PR crisis territory. Gossip blogs and entertainment outlets had a field day ripping the drama apart. TMZ, The Shade Room, and even fashion blogs jumped in, each dissecting how this moment blurred the fragile line between Cardi's real, unfiltered persona and commentary so reckless it could wreck her image. Some media voices framed it as proof that Cardi might actually be cancel-proof, arguing she thrives on chaos and controversy so much that scandals don't sink her. They feed her brand. But not everyone agreed. Other analysts warned this mess felt different. This wasn't about sparring with Nicki Minaj, clapping back at trolls, or dragging industry rivals. This was Cardi versus her own supporters. And when you start alienating the people buying tickets and filling arenas, the stakes are way higher. Even celebrity commentators weighed in, with gossip vlogger Armin Wiggins bluntly saying, "It's one thing to beef with industry people. It's another to insult your fans. That's a dangerous game." His words struck a nerve online, sparking debates across Reddit threads where fans pointed out that in today's cancel culture, repeated fat-shaming scandals don't just fade away, they snowball. And with body positivity being one of the loudest conversations in mainstream culture right now, critics warned that this particular controversy could easily shift from messy internet drama to boycotts and serious career damage. The big question everyone was asking, had Cardi finally crossed into a territory even her star power couldn't protect her from? Even as the backlash raged, Cardi's defenders stood firm, brushing it all off as just her humor. They argued that if you really follow Cardi, you already know she says wild stuff all the time. She's unpolished, unfiltered, and unpredictable. That's the exact reason people fell in love with her in the first place, but critics weren't buying that excuse. They countered that intent doesn't erase impact, and the impact here was fans feeling humiliated by the very artist they supported. Keep poking fun at the same people fueling your career, they warned, and the fallout won't just disappear, it could stick. As the drama grew louder, fans began connecting Cardi's fat-shaming controversy to other celebrity scandals that shook careers. On Twitter/X and TikTok, comparisons poured in. Lizzo, who faced heavy backlash when her own body-positive image was questioned. Adele, who was scrutinized after her weight loss left fans feeling betrayed. The message was clear. When it comes to body image, the public doesn't play around. Fans are hypersensitive, and celebrities who fumble with the subject risk losing trust fast. Cardi's insistence on doubling down with jokes about size while brushing off criticism came across as completely tone-deaf. Social justice bloggers piled on, pointing out that her comments weren't harmless. They reinforced long-standing stereotypes about plus-size people being lazy or unhealthy. That infamous "no Chick-fil-A for y'all" remark was being dragged across every platform as proof she was feeding into fat-phobic narratives, not just cracking jokes. The internet wasn't laughing anymore. One viral TikTok captured the sentiment perfectly with the caption, "Imagine calling your fans fat after they just sold out your merch in 20 minutes. That's not funny. That's disrespectful." That post alone turned thousands of casual fans into frustrated critics overnight. Behind the scenes, whispers started leaking from industry insiders suggesting that Cardi's own team was growing frustrated. The controversy was no longer just messy gossip. It was overshadowing the carefully planned rollout for her upcoming album. Instead of excitement around new music, all eyes were locked on a scandal that just wouldn't die down. Industry voices started ringing alarm bells. NPR experts speculated that Cardi may have just put some of her biggest money moves at risk. In today's cultural climate, inclusivity sells, and brands that align with body positivity don't want to be tied to someone being accused of fat phobia. What once could have been a string of lucrative endorsement deals suddenly looked like potential liabilities, all thanks to her own words. But Cardi, she didn't flinch. Instead, she leaned even harder into her unapologetic persona, almost daring the internet to cancel her. On TikTok, she brushed off the outrage, repeating, I make fun of myself, my man, even my mama. I make fun of everybody. Don't cry about it. She doubled down on the idea that her humor is equal opportunity, that if she could endure years of body shaming over her surgeries, then fans should be able to laugh at themselves too. Critics, though, weren't buying that spin. They argued she was missing the real issue. Mocking trolls is one thing, but mocking paying fans is another. That's not clapping back, that's punching down. Blogs like Hollywood Unlocked and The Shade Room lit up with debates. Some commenters defended her authenticity, while others accused her of crossing into straight-up arrogance. One frustrated fan summed it up perfectly. She's forgetting the fans are the reason she can afford her BBLs and Chick-fil-A ice machines. Another dragged her for hypocrisy. She says she's been bullied for her body, yet she's out here bullying her fans for theirs. Make it make sense. Even fashion commentators weighed in, pointing out that Cardi had a golden opportunity to flip the controversy into a positive branding moment. She could have celebrated inclusivity, highlighting how demand for larger sizes proves just how wide and loyal her fan base really is. Instead, she chose mockery, and that decision may have cost her more than a few laughs. For critics, this whole scandal proved one thing. Cardi doesn't just thrive on controversy, she thrives on controversy at her supporters' expense, and that's exactly where the danger lies. Behind the scenes, industry whispers suggested the fallout wasn't just about angry fans on Twitter, it could bleed straight into her business empire. Cardi has worked hard to brand herself as more than just a rapper, branching into fashion collabs, big-name endorsements, and even talk of launching her own lifestyle products. But scandals like this, they clash head-on with the corporate buzzwords of today, inclusivity and diversity. As Billboard once noted in a profile, Cardi's raw authenticity is what attracted brands in the first place. But even major companies won't gamble on being tied to an artist accused of fat phobia, not in this climate. PR insiders speculated that longtime partners like Fashion Nova, who've ridden with her for years, might suddenly hesitate to put her front and center until the outrage dies down. And according to gossip blogs, her team was even debating whether to issue a soft apology or clarification to calm the storm. But Cardi wasn't having it. She flat out refused, choosing instead to double down yet again. That stubbornness might keep her image intact with die-hard Barty gang fans who live for her realness. But the bigger picture looks shakier. The broader audience, the casual listeners, the fashion buyers, the corporate partners, those are the ones who fuel the real money moves. And if they start walking away, that's when the damage really hits. The irony couldn't be clearer. The very authenticity that made Cardi a star could now be the same anchor pulling her down. Because in this era of accountability, being unfiltered isn't always seen as bold. It can come off as careless, reckless, and out of touch with the culture Cardi once embodied so well. Fans started looking back at Cardi's long history with controversy and asking a tough question. Had she finally hit her breaking point? For years, Cardi has built her brand on pure chaos. From that infamous shoe-throwing incident with Nicki Minaj at the Met Gala after-party to fiery Instagram lives to non-stop messy feuds, her unfiltered personality kept her beloved by millions, but it also made her vulnerable to disaster at any moment. This time, critics stressed the difference. She wasn't sparring with a rival or clapping back at haters. She was insulting her own fan base. On gossip forums like Lipstick Alley, debates went wild. One user warned, "It's always fun and games until the fans stop buying. If she keeps this up, they'll move to the next artist who actually appreciates them." Another pointed out that while Cardi's controversies usually boosted her visibility, this one felt different. She can't spin this as another clapback. This was her roasting her own supporters. That's when the narrative shift became clear. Cardi wasn't being framed as the underdog scrapping against haters anymore. She was being cast as the star who had grown out of touch with the very people keeping her career alive. And critics warned that shift could be deadly for her longevity in the industry. Still, not everyone was ready to cancel her. Defenders pushed back hard, calling the controversy overblown. They argued that Barty Gang knows exactly who Cardi is, that outrageous humor, that Bronx upbringing, that unfiltered realness. And that's why she shouldn't be policed for every wild thing she says. To them, this was just more proof of why they love her. She doesn't fake it, and she doesn't play by the industry's be perfect rules. One supporter jumped on Twitter/X to defend her, writing, "She's not fake, she's not rehearsed. She's raw and real." They argued that anyone following Cardi should already know wild comments come with the territory. To them, people who felt offended just didn't understand her personality. Some even went further, suggesting fans needed to toughen up, reminding everyone that Cardi has always clapped back at anyone, even herself, but critics weren't letting that pass. They fired back, saying that being raw and being reckless are two totally different things, and this time, Cardi had clearly crossed that line. As one frustrated fan summed it up perfectly, "Cardi being real is fine, but not when she's insulting the very people paying her bills." That tension split the internet in half. On one side were those who defended her as unapologetically herself, a superstar who refuses to water down her personality. On the other were those warning she was alienating her biggest supporters, the very ones who fuel her chart success, her sold-out shows, and her brand deals. The debate grew louder by the day, turning what started as a live stream rant into a culture-wide conversation. Analysts began connecting Cardi's comments to a much larger issue, the role of fat phobia in hip-hop and pop culture at large. Writers on blogs like Madame Noir and All Hip Hop highlighted how female artists in particular are often pressured to maintain unrealistic body standards. And Cardi herself has been no stranger to that pressure, frequently mocked for her surgeries, her curves, and every transformation she's ever had. The irony wasn't lost on anyone. Here was an artist who knew firsthand the pain of body shaming, now accused of turning that same ridicule on her own fans. But instead of building solidarity with her plus-size fans, the very people who could have been her strongest allies, Cardi flipped the script and openly mocked them. Critics slammed her for reinforcing the same toxic beauty standards that she always claimed to fight against. And what stung even more? This was coming from an artist who has long spoken about empowerment, realness, and standing up for the underdog. One blogger captured the frustration perfectly, writing, "It's wild that Cardi, who built her career on authenticity and relatability, is the same one mocking fans for their size. That's not empowerment, that's betrayal." That line went viral, and it summed up the shift in how people were viewing her. The controversy grew so big that it even sparked larger cultural debates. Commentators started asking if celebrity culture had normalized casual fat shaming, with Cardi being used as the prime cautionary tale. Think pieces across blogs and Twitter threads painted her as the example of how quickly a star can go from relatable hero to reckless villain, all because of careless words. By putting her own fans in the crosshairs, Cardi didn't just trigger backlash, she reignited heated discussions about whether the music industry is truly inclusive or if it still pushes out anyone who doesn't fit the perfect body mold. And how did Cardi respond? By turning the scandal into content, she flat out refused to bow to cancellation and leaned harder into her defiance. On TikTok Live, she declared, "This is a body shaming space. If y'all body shame me, I'll body shame y'all." Simple, and to top it off, she pulled out more cupcakes, this time tossing them at the camera while sarcastically mocking the fans, demanding an apology. The fire only burned hotter after that. Some fans praised Cardi for refusing to play nice or bow to outside pressure, calling it proof that she's still the no-filter queen who built her brand on raw honesty. But others weren't impressed. They said her antics weren't bold, they were reckless, digging her hole even deeper and showing arrogance instead of accountability. Commentators on the Jasmine brand weighed in, noting that Cardi has always thrived by keeping her name in the headlines, good or bad. They admitted this controversy might even boost her streams and sales in the short term, But they also warned that long-term trust is a different story. And once that bond with fans cracks, it's nearly impossible to glue back together. The cupcake stunt became the centerpiece of the entire scandal. Memes flooded TikTok, Instagram, and Twitter/X, half the internet calling it classic Cardi, the other half calling it straight-up tone-deaf comedy. Either way, she was trending everywhere, proving yet again that chaos remains her strongest marketing tool. But the bigger question loomed: would this fat-shaming controversy fade into the pile of her past scandals, or would it be the one that finally stuck, damaging her connection with the very people she needs most? Unlike her feud with Nicki Minaj or the messy back and forth with tabloids, this situation cuts at the heart of her fan base, the ones buying her merch, streaming her tracks nonstop, and selling out her arenas. PR experts are already warning that mocking your supporters is far riskier than beefing with another celebrity because it strikes directly at loyalty. Some gossip writers even predicted Cardi might need to stage a full-on redemption arc to clean this up. Ideas ranged from sitting down for a heartfelt interview to making a philanthropic gesture tied to body positivity, to even rebranding her merch line to embrace inclusivity, because without a move like that, this could be the scandal that lingers longer than any of her clapbacks. Some people still believe Cardi's raw authenticity will carry her through the storm, just like it always has. She's built a career on chaos, fights, rants, clapbacks, and somehow always comes out on top. But even her biggest supporters admit that loyalty has limits. One viral tweet captured the vibe perfectly. "We let Cardi slide when she fought, when she cussed, when she ranted, but clowning the fans? That's different." That line spread across social media like wildfire, hitting on the exact fear many are whispering. Has she finally crossed into dangerous territory? Because here's the truth: whether this blows over as just another dramatic Cardi chapter or becomes the turning point where fans start walking away, all depends on her next move. Will she double down yet again and keep tossing sarcasm at her critics? Or will she finally step back, acknowledge the hurt, and flip the script into something positive? What's undeniable is that in today's cancel culture climate, Cardi is dancing on thin ice. Mocking your supporters isn't the same as beefing with rivals. It's riskier, stickier, and harder to shake off. Right now, she's playing with fire, and only time will tell if her fans end up burned or if they shrug it off and keep